are on the Rift. It's going to be TSM versus reigning champions, Counter Logic Gaming.
All the off-season drama fueled the first week, but I thought I really have to win because a part of me wants them to make them regret their decision.
Nice hit by Hoogie. He puts down the tomb, and that's going to put Double Lift in one.
Pretty much sucked to lose, but then I realized we have a lot of work to do.
When we first played against TSM, it didn't really seem like they had an idea of how to play as a team.
What a fight, and they have a hell of a lot of crowd control to work through here, and Counter Logic Gaming are going to take the game.
They've definitely been looking a little bit better recently. I think the second game's going to be a lot harder than the first one.
Welcome to our second day of competition in Week 5 of the North American LCS, coming to you live from the Battle Arena here in Los Angeles, California. After yesterday's games, we've officially passed the halfway mark, and our teams are looking ahead to the rest of the split. Now check out this Voidling keeping the crowd company. Our fans are out in force for our rivalry between TSM and CLG later in the day, but up first we have NRG Esports. Here they are arriving at the studio, and of course they'll be going up against Echo Fox. They're walking to the stage here. Coach Cop leading the way, Froggen trailing behind. Blurred Limes making an appearance at the North American LCS here today. Ladies and gentlemen, roses are red, violets are blue, but we've got some LCS action coming to you. Thank you for joining us. I'm James Dash Patterson, and joining me on the desk is my Valentine, Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, and of course our third wheel, Aiden Zyrene Moon.
Speaking of which, James, I actually did go ahead and get you a Valentine's Day gift because I need you to know that I appreciate you.
Kobe,
so here you go.
Shouldn't have. And did you know that I just so happened to get you a gift as well? Here you go.
Oh, my God. So thoughtful. Can you pass that over there for me, too?
Oh, it's a second one?
Oh, yeah.
You're the bestest.
All right.
Oh, my God.
My
I feel so loved and special. Thank you very much, Kobe.
You deserve it.
I appreciate you. All right, well, let's get a quick refresher of the standings then. Immortals is ahead of the pack, while last year's Worlds attendees CLG, Cloud9, and TSM are all tied for second place. In the middle of the pack, NRG Esports sits one win ahead of Liquid. Team Dignitas and Tip are tied for 7th, and Echo Fox grabbed the win yesterday to take 9th over last place Renegades. Coming up today, we've got Echo Fox looking to build on their win against NRG. Then it's time for the OL Classico matchup with Counter Logic Gaming versus TSM, and we'll conclude the day with Team Dignitas going up against Tip. Despite some crazy movements in the first few weeks, though, the standings are beginning to look reflective of expectations coming in to the LCS season. We got to start with Immortals and start at the top of the bracket here. 9-0, looking good.
I mean, what can you say about perfection, in the North American LCS so far? Immortals deserve to be at this top spot. Every player is playing well, but really it comes down to the teamwork. This is one of the teams that trust each other the most of all the teams in North American LCS. Of all the teams that had so many roster swaps in the offseason and bringing together new players, some of them have worked together before, but the way that all 5 have gelled is unprecedented.
And the most important thing to me that I'm seeing from Immortals is that in NA LCS, we really haven't seen a top team that has this type of consistency since Cloud9 had their first season. And even then, I think they're topping that. Because they're training for consistency, they're training for resilience, and they're making sure that every performance, they're not underestimating their opponents, and they're giving it their best. Anything less than their best is actually considered a failure for this squad. So they keep pushing themselves, despite some people being like, oh, the level of opponent isn't that great. They're still shooting for very high expectations.
And you mentioned Cloud9 there. Cloud9, one of our old guard teams in NA, used to be the consistency team. But looking at our old guard, TSM, CLG, and Cloud9, which of these 3 teams are we looking at that might be able to press against Immortals for that undefeated season?
Yeah, it's actually kind of cool that how it's shaken out so far this season with sort of the old household names of the North American LCS of TSM, CLG, and C9 all just under Immortals and trying to be that number 2 spot, trying to fight their way through the sort of dog pile. I have to say, if we start with TSM, this looks to be the team of the teams that are currently tied at number 2 that still have those communication issues that are pretty clear. As we saw yesterday, even though they got that win, there are a lot of times where they didn't use ultimates, to save a teammate, or they had skirmishes where one person would commit and the other person would try and run away.
Yeah, in terms of contesting Immortals have said, to me at least, that they're afraid of a fully powered TSM, but the stagnant growth of TSM is quite alarming. It's halfway through the split, and they don't seem to be meeting their own expectations, right? They still have a lot of room to grow, but they're not growing at the rate that they thought they would at the start of the season. So TSM are a little disappointing for themselves.
Yeah, will they even reach full power by the end of the season?
That's the question.
They are making, incremental improvements. However, it is a little bit slow.
Yeah, not at the rate that they would hope to be. Next up, though, on the docket then has to be CLG.
Yeah, CLG. I mean, these are the guys. It really shows the focus that they put in the offseason on teamwork. They said this was their #1 priority with all of their changes, and in game, they have still kept Aframu. Not only does he make these plays, but the shot calling infrastructure is there. And the mid-game rotations, the lane swap game, all of these things that we knew about CLG last season and what brought them success last season are still really there for them. And they've been building with the new guys for success this season as well.
Yeah, and then we look over at Cloud9 when you're talking about shot calling here. Well, they have a little bit of what they had last season, but the end of the season, we'll look at regional qualifiers there because they're 6-1 with high right now. And in terms of contesting Immortals, they have very decisive shot calling, and I actually think that today might be the first day that Immortals lose a game. This looks like a fully powered squad with Rush synergizing and looking fully integrated. And then Jensen has just been a monster lately. Ever since Jat was talking about bodying fools, he's been bodying fools.
Exactly what he's been doing.
Yeah, even before that. I have to say, technically, this is the first time that High's Cloud9 doesn't get to face Immortals.
Exactly. Very good point. 6-1 Cloud9 with High in the lineup going up against a 9-0 Immortals. This is quite possibly the best opportunity we have this season for Immortals to lose a game. Well, we've talked about the teams now, but I want to narrow it down to individual players. It's Valentine's Day after all, so let me know which players on each of these teams, or any of these teams rather, that you guys have fallen in love with so far this season.
I have to say, as a jungler, you're going to look to Reignover. This guy is pretty much the whole package. This is everything you could want from a jungler. He does everything so well, it's almost frustrating, right? He has 100% first blood ratio. He ganks well. He farms well. He has one of the top 3 farming numbers for all junglers in North American LCS. And he team fights well it's ridiculous.
Right. He just didn't get you chocolate.
He did, yeah.
That's all.
We're limiting this to LCS players.
I'm going to throw that out there. Didn't buy you chocolates. All right, Zyrie and Himmy.
He didn't buy me chocolates either, but
we love you too, Zyrie, I promise. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
We digress.
High, I really actually think that High, and you're talking about all these in-game stats for Reignover, I think the out-of-game things that High does are absolutely incredible for a player. Not only is he a shot caller and an in-game leader, which we talk about a lot, he's also very, very flexible, and he's self-sacrificing. Because he's played 3 roles for his team. He's been called up to a role that he didn't even play before, just being like, all right, actually going back to his role originally that he played on Orbit back in the day, right? So he was basically like
jungle, 2
mid
like, back to
whoa,
jungle. Yeah.
Can you play this role? Come out of retirement? It's like, I guess I will. And so he's so self-sacrificing, he's dedicated to the role that he changes to, and he's just a positive and encouraging player in his shot calls too. The tiny things where he's just like, oh, no, even though you died, that was your job, you're good. You'll get to do it better next time, right? I think that High just has this great thing that we call an intangible that shows up in the game, and it's not really reflected in his stats.
And it really shows how much Cloud9 value High's leadership qualities. The qualities of a great leader, they're so hard to find. They're willing to put him in any role, and they're willing to take the hit of a champion pool, because when he switches to a new role, he does pick it up very quickly. However, you have to focus on only a couple champions, so you try and eliminate as many external variables as possible so that you can try and focus on picking up the new role as early as possible. You don't have to think about, oh, how do I play this champion, because you play the same one over and over.
Yeah, because that leadership is so valuable because it's so hard to find in players, and it's something that's so incredibly hard to teach that some people have theories that you can't even teach that to people.
Yeah, very much so. And part of what allows him to hold on to those qualities as a player is the fact that he isn't going for such an expansive pool when he assumes a new role. Now, we've shared which players we think have the hottest moves in the LCS. So for our social media question of the day, we want to know, which pro would you like to be your dynamic Q Valentine and why? Tweet responses to @LOL Esports, and we'll read your love notes a little later in the show. Kobe's all mine, though. So you can now, as we send it off to our casters, though, oh, yeah, hey, can I have one?
There you go, buddy.
Thanks. As we send it off to our casters, let's take a closer look at one of the newest additions to the LCS. Oh my God, they missed it.
No!
They just missed the snub. I'm so sorry. One of the newest additions to the LCS, NRG's jungler, Moon. Take a look.
For me, I want to be known as like a good homegrown player, but overall, like I want to be a good jungler internationally, not just in NA. This view is insane. It's so good. I've never seen LA from this type of view. It's beautiful. I was definitely super excited to move out to LA and play on the new team. Being away from my family is hard, but even though I haven't done it that much, I'm pretty used to it now. I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, Golden Valley, Minnesota. I had a lot of my close friends and went to school there. I played lacrosse in middle school a lot. Lacrosse is definitely my favorite sport. My brother got me into it. As kids, we would always be competitive and play games together, mainly games. We'd play N64, Wii together. We would always buy the latest console, the latest games, and play them together. He got into League after he saw that I was, being a pro in League and stuff like that. He watches the games and everything, and after my game, he'll be like, "Oh, good job," or "Oh, next time." For me, it was season 4. That's when I started jungling, was late season 4, and season 5 I got 2 accounts in high challenge, and that was for me when it was okay, I can actually do this. I wanted to put my all into it because I know when I'm 30 or something, if I don't put my all into it, I would look back and be like, oh man, I really fucked up. I was on Team Imagine last split, around right when I joined. I had 3 really high solo queue accounts, so pros respected that. They went against me in solo queue and they're like, oh, he's a good solo queue player. I think Dominate made an AMA and he's like, oh, Moon is the best non-LCS jungler that I've played against in solo queue. And I remember I played against him and he added me after and he's like, hey, can you give me some solo queue tips and stuff like that? And I'm like, yeah, I'll trade it for your pro experience. I think the hype made me work a lot harder because I felt like it was kind of unjustified and undeserved. It was like, oh, I have to work harder to not let myself let down this hype. We were super close to beating Teammate in relegations.
Whoa, Dodo goes in, the ball delivery cow ball, and that's Cali Trolls coming up with a kill along with Dodo. Team 8 will retain their spot in the North American LCS.
I was definitely shaken. I wasn't sure if I was going to make LCS or not in the offseason, or if I had to play another split or 2 in Challenger and see if I could make it that way. I wanted to go to Korea with Selfie, who was going to be our mid laner on Imagine. I had never been out of the country before Korea, so I expedited my passport for 2 days because I didn't have one. Junglers in Korea are super low farm. I mean, when you're low elo, they'll have Mobies and Sightstone at 15 minutes and that's it. They won't even have a jungle item. You have to help your lanes more in Korean solo queue. So I definitely learned how to be more aggressive and supportive to my team. Eventually, Team NRG came around and it was like, hey, I can put you in LCS, if you work hard and improve yourself, you can be on the team. The rest of the team came to Korea and I had a tryout and that's basically how it happened. Playing with a lot of veterans is definitely overwhelming sometimes. There's a lot of things that they just, for them, is super basic and oh, you should do this in this situation. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I would say the team's goal is we have to be top 3. If we're not top 3, we're failing. To have that oh, we must be top 3 or it's a failure is definitely a lot of pressure on me. Every year there's a couple of new homegrown players that are really motivated for the win. I would say it just comes down to that, how motivated they are. There's a lot of challenger players that have the talent and they just don't work hard enough. For me, if I could tell myself something when I was in challenger, just keep working hard and make LCS, because when you make LCS, time goes by way faster.
Yeah, I gotta say, time has gone by really fast. We're here 4 seasons into LCS now, already halfway through the first split of this one.
Yeah, our 4th Valentine's Day as LCS casters.
That's true.
Yeah.
And speaking of Valentine's here, I'm David Figtilli, and with me is my Valentine, Joshua Jat-Leesman. Also, in case you don't celebrate Valentine's Day, happy Support Appreciation Day. Everyone can find someone to lane with here. We're about to get into our first match of the day Yes, NRG Esports taking on Echo Fox. I realized it was the second day of the week, so I couldn't go for first of the week. But guys, Echo Fox, once again, on the Rift with the full lineup. And yesterday they had those players, and it looked pretty good when they beat up Renegades.
Yeah, absolutely. And we heard from Froggen in his post-game interview that even though Echo Fox weren't playing together in the LCS, they were still practicing together, which is a good thing, and it showed some development. Froggen and Keith, they both put out great performances yesterday against Renegades, but they do have a lot of wins to make up for if they plan on moving up in the standings, because, of course, they did have that 1-7 start.
Of course, right now they sit 1 game behind 7th and 8th place. TIP as well as Team Dignitas. They're 2 behind Team Liquid. We'll see how they can move up from here. But of course, getting wins can be hard. They're up against NRG right now, and NRG are actually a pretty solid team. They're in a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, much tougher opponent, although NRG have shown some holes of their own. We knew coming into the split that Impact and GBM were going to be major players on this team, and I think the hope was that they would be able to elevate the rest of the roster to their level. But instead, we're kind of seeing the team struggle if either of their solo laners fall behind. You look in the bottom lane with Altec, he was a consistent performer last year, but hasn't really shown up yet. Because Impact and GBM, they're good players, but NRG really need Altec to be a threat on his own. And so far, he hasn't been able to have that presence on the team. Really high CS per minute, first or second in the entire LCS, but bottom 2 in damage per minute of starting AD carries for all games, which is, you can't just farm minions all day and not contribute in team fights, which is what Altec has done so far.
Absolutely, especially with how often we're seeing Impact play tanks. Couple of Maokai, a couple of Malphite games. Haven't seen him on Fiora in a very long time. And so, yes, it does come down to Altec to do something, which he hasn't right now. We'll see if that shapes up. Going to check out the starting lineups. On the blue side for this match is Echo Fox with KFO in the top lane, Hard in the jungle, Froggen in mid, Keith at AD carry with better damage stats, I assume, and Big on support.
Yep, and then on the red side, wearing pink on Valentine's Day, as also every day, it's NRG with Impact in the top lane, Moon, who we just heard from in the jungle, GBM in the mid lane, Altec as the AD carry, Conquan as support, and Hermit as their coach.
And up against Coach Cop as far as
Coach Hermit.
Coach duels go in here. Yeah, so players getting ready. Champs are going to start in a second here. And this, to me, becomes very interesting because you know so little about Echo Fox here, right? 3 games with this lineup on stage so far, and we're at the halfway point here. And the weird thing is NRG are so wildly inconsistent as well. They nearly beat Immortals. They had a lead going into about 18 minutes in with that really heavy poke comp in the Varus mid, and then they'll drop games you don't expect them to. And it's back and forth and back and forth. NRG 5-4, not the record you would have expected for former world champions like Impact here. And they come in hoping that they can stay on top up against Echo Fox, but the world is right now Echo Fox's oyster.
Yeah, and even though we are officially now in the second half of the spring split, this is the first game NRG and Fox have actually played against each other because we had that unfortunate forfeit in week 2 between these two teams. So it'll be really exciting to see kind of Froggen against GBM and how that can play out.
Yeah.
Or how NRG can just maybe out-team play the rest of Echo Fox. A lot of unknowns, as you said, with this entire Echo Fox lineup. Technically speaking, Froggen and KFO are 2-1 as starters on the team.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch here. In fact, both these teams have similar struggles as well in that they're multilingual teams, and you've got to sort of translate or make it be known to the Korean players what's going on here for both these squads. And it will be fun to watch. Another Rise ban actually added by Froggen. So interestingly, he banned that yesterday as well, I believe, up against Renegades, and still dropping it out here. Or not Rise, sorry, Zed is what I meant to say.
Yeah, well, there was a Zed ban actually against...
I could have sworn it was Froggen doing it because I remember I gave the anecdote of him telling me that he was good at Zed, and yet they banned it yet again. So I find that interesting.
You're absolutely right about that. So again, they banned Zed. I think it's just because they are afraid of Zed in mid against Corki. Zed has really good all-in against Corki at level 6, and you really don't want to be building heavy health or heavy armor.
Or Zonias or something.
Exactly. So they were planning on first picking it. It wasn't banned on the other side, and that really just feels like the game plan.
Of course, that does mean they gave away the Gangplank, and last time it was Impact who played the champion to not much success. But either way, Impact and GBM both known as very good Gangplank players. NRG taking their time in the next round of picks right here. I actually do think Udyr is quite strong, but I don't expect to be seeing it early on, if at all, in Champion Select, and it will be Braum instead.
I apologize in advance, but if we see an Udyr in an LCS game that I'm casting,
you are about this.
I am going to be talking about Udyr for mostly the entire game.
It will be like Zyrene and Kobe combined when Vi's in the game. Like, I am ready for this. I'll let you go. Just let me know the topics, and I'll open them for you. Echo Fox, now on their side of the picks and bans, as Braum and Gangplank definitely are 2 very strong champions to deal with.
Yeah, the question with this Gangplank will be, will GBM actually get to play it? A lot of people think GBM's an amazing mid-lane Gangplank. He's had some great games on it in the past, but last time they picked Gangplank, they did throw it top lane on Impact and ended up losing that game. They had a zillion mid, never really found the right team fights or communication. It didn't look like Impact's Gangplank was bad, but it just didn't work well with the overall team comp.
Well, we've been talking about the story of Altec just not really being part of the fights, and if Impact's splitting all game long, then who's doing the damage in the 4-on-4s and the 4-on-5s? Echo Fox taking their time with this phase of the picks and bans, and right now hovering Graves and Janna, which will be locked in here. So a very backline-focused team, a disengaged support for Big, double marksman, maybe even triple, since Corki's such a common mid laner.
Yeah.
And Graves is a common jungler.
It's also kind of interesting. We have been seeing a rise in prominence for Braum because he is both good with multiple marksmen to proc the stun and also great against multiple marksmen because they can't shoot past his shield very well. So even with the Braum locked in, they still go for 2 of them, and it's most likely looking like it could be a very easy triple marksman. You know, the Zed band kind of telegraphs a Corki mid lane. Graves could be going most likely in the jungle. It still leaves the actual AD carry position for Keith to pick another one.
I'm waiting for the quadra marksman, okay? Quinn is still up, Lucian's still up. You could just go ham, and Janna just keeps 4 squishies alive. I'm ready for that comp to show up. It's unlikely here. Lucian gets taken away right now by Altec. Could be very successful for him. And now to make that last pick for NRG.
What's funny is Quinn's a good top lane against Gangplank. If that was the way it worked, but they can't guarantee that lane matchup, and Impact could always pull out a Malphite with the last pick, which you definitely don't want to have a bunch of marksmen in with. I like the Eve, though, for Moon.
Yeah, Moon was actually very, very good Evelyn back on his time with Imagine in the Challenger Series. I think it was one of his best champions. And I'm actually surprised we haven't seen much Runic Echoes Evelyn. I think it's very strong, though.
Yeah, it scales pretty well. I think it's also fairly farm-dependent early on. You have to get some successful ganks off. And also there are far more pink wards in pro play than you would ever see in solo queue.
Very true.
It's kind of like a hidden nerf to Eve is the fact that you can't buy normal wards anymore, but you can buy pink wards.
Right.
So there's a bunch of pink wards in the map, and those are very effective against Evelyn.
Right, yeah.
But we'll be seeing Moon on it here, which is exciting.
That is going to be a whole bunch of fun to watch for. And we'll see NRG are leaving that Gangplank up as a flex pick here, so we'll see where that ends up going with their final champion. And of course, that also allows them to make sure his matchup isn't too bad. Fox also have to decide where that Gangplank is, where that Graves as well as where that Corki goes, as those roles are still open. Caitlyn is being hovered here, and the Malphite for the top lane for KFO. So Froggen, I believe, with now 2 Corki games in a row, if I believe properly, went unkilled last time and was the star player of the team. And once again, a very similar composition. In fact, the same Caitlyn, the same Corki, and the same Malphite from yesterday.
And I like the fact that they are going with the Malphite here. It actually makes me a little bit surprised that NRG didn't pick it earlier when we think about how good Malphite would be against 2 or 3 auto attack champions. Even though Corki does do magic damage, it was a guaranteed pretty much 2 physical damage range champions. And it's not like anyone was taking Evelyn away, so NRG could have given away their solo lane configurations in order to get the Malphite, but now they absolutely have no option.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for leaving that up, though. I think Gangplank does very well into Malphite as a matchup. You have all that armor penetration just in the kit by itself, even some true damage, and I actually think letting them go for this and getting the matchup there could be good, but they actually don't go for that at all. Looks like it will be Maokai up in the top lane here for Impact. GBM will get to play the Gangplank mid, so we get to see that for the first time here in North America. Some say he's actually the best Gangplank in the world. I want to see if that happens here for GBM. I find Corki to be a hard matchup for him, but it will be fun to watch GBM face off with Froggen here.
Yeah, and it's not like Impact's Maokai is a slouch either.
No,
just
of course
not really in meta right now, so they'll have to have some pretty hard initiation from the Maokai and the Evelyn. Gangplank can get a bunch of damage up, but it has to be lined up just right, otherwise it falls pretty short. And then Altec has to be a damage contributor in this game, which is still difficult against the Malphite. So big challenges coming up for NRG, and also I think a solid composition for Echo Fox.
And it's funny, it's NRG running the same kind of composition they did yesterday. It's a tank from the top lane, a tank from the support, and then everyone else is on a damage roll. Moon is yet again on a damage champion. He was on Kindred yesterday. He's on Evelyn. I have to assume with the Runic Echoes here and probably more ability power as well on this Evelyn. So once again, the middle 3 members of NRG are the damage dealers, and as these coaches walk off and shake hands with the compositions they hope they like here, it's going to be a very interesting matchup of NRG hoping they can stay on the top half of the standings, but Echo Fox certainly can now challenge for a playoff spot here. If you guys at home think it's going to happen, then you can join us here on Twitter. Tweet at NA Esports, hashtag FOXWin or hashtag NRGWin. For which team you think it's going to be. Echo Fox 2-1 with this lineup could start moving quickly up the standings and really challenging for a playoff spot. Meanwhile, NRG, only 1 win more than loss. Maybe not doing quite as well as they would have expected coming into the split. Moon said top 3 is the bare minimum. We'll see if they can do it here.
Yeah, currently they are sitting in 5th, so they also have some work to do as this season progresses. And on Echo Fox's side, there is that renewed vigor since they have their full roster. I remember last year in the summer split, TDK had a similar thing where they had a lot of issues before they get their final team. They finally get their full roster. They win their first game, and people are thinking, oh, my God.
Oh, the miracle season.
Is this team going to come wreck people? And Echo Fox is technically in a similar situation, although with a little bit less fanfare. We'll see, though, because it is technically a team that we have not seen before, but they have been practicing together. So a very real wild card here that NRG has to play against.
Well, already off on the wrong foot. NRG have killed the Trinket Ward. They got themselves 10 gold. That goes to Altek. So Altek has the highest gold in the game right now. If he doesn't carry...
Yeah, 10 more than anyone else.
Couldn't even buy anything with that.
There's nothing in the shop that you can buy for 10 gold.
Oh, Moon gets spotted out.
Oh.
That's interesting, actually. You put
Who
two
placed
trinkets
those
down.
2 wards? I
We
mean,
can find
so
out.
I imagine you place 2 trinkets down. It could actually be
On purpose.
on purpose because if
Evelyn
both
and
people
Impact.
auto-attack,
Yeah.
they can get the 3 hits on the ward. But at the same time, it was Moon and Impact who have been not the best at synergizing together, but, you know, neither ward ended up getting killed, so
Yeah.
turned into a wasted ward, but I actually
There's
don't
so much
mind.
vision.
I actually don't mind placing double wards there.
Yeah, I think it's actually very smart.
Oftentimes, the ward does get killed.
Yeah, I think it was the right choice. It didn't end up mattering, but we now start with this game. Echo Fox are starting with their dual lane in the bot side alongside their jungler. Actually, no, sorry. In the enemy bot side jungle.
Yeah,
Got my colors wrong briefly.
It's a double invade. So it's the strong side of the map. Both teams have designated their strong side by sending more people on that part of the map. There's Echo Fox pushing down bottom. They're going to be able to take turrets very quickly if they decide to go immediately for the bottom turret, or they have the chance to loop back into their own jungle. What I would want to see, actually, is to have the jungler continue in the jungle and have 3 people push the wave. But there are still a lot of options here, whether or not they want to try and freeze the lane for the AD carry to take, or if they want to go for a fast push. But when it's this clear of a strong side, weak side, you normally don't see too much tomfoolery. Froggen is pushed up pretty far, though.
And Concon gets some damage down and actually gets the slow, but it doesn't mean too much.
And that's an example of why ganks are so hard to do when the map is split exactly like this. Because even though Froggen knows there's 4 people missing on the other side of the map, he can run directly into the fog of war in his river because he knows there's nobody down there.
Exactly. And he hugs that side of the lane in the start in the first place. So Braum like walks across the lane to even put the Q in, and Braum's like, yeah, I've seen this before. And all as well. So mid laners holding pretty equal in farm. GBM slightly behind, and you're going to expect to see that in a matchup like this. Moon still clearing the jungle pretty damn fast. Did open with refillable potion on both these junglers, actually. And in a lane swap scenario, you don't really need the regular health potions at all. You're durable enough with the top laner tanking for you.
Absolutely. Evelyn actually takes a fair bit of damage early on, normally in a solo jungle scenario. So a lane swap, I think, actually favors Evelyn for the very early game. As far as pace of taking the top turret, though, you would expect NRG to be a little bit slower because they tried that little detour mid lane, but they actually are the ones to take it first.
And a different style as well. They've got about 8 minions still alive as they knock that turret down, so they're going to push that and crash it into that second turret here. Echo Fox doing the standard freeze. This is the normal timing, 3 minutes, 40 seconds. At the end of the day, if no one shows up, it's the same numbers of minions dying. It's just handled differently.
Yeah, and it also meant that NRG didn't have to wait as long to kill the turret because there's a lot of delay you have to go through if you're waiting for the turret to bounce the wave for you.
I would have loved to see KFO TP to that tier 2 turret, though. If he didn't think he was going to get dived, there's like 9 caster minions to kill for XP.
Exactly.
That's a big if. If they are there, you die for that.
It looks like he's trying to soak experience in the bottom lane, though. Here's that sneaky Evelyn.
Froggen doesn't know the Moon's behind him with
nice
the red
angle.
buff. And there's a whole bunch of damage, still taking a bunch of burns. Froggen could die. Moon with the red buff on nearly takes him out. Summon heal, not quite required, to be honest. But still painful.
I think Froggen was worried about a flash Q since the red buff had taken him so low and Moon still had flash up, so it was more of a safety heal there since the red buff was taking him pretty low. Love the angle that Moon took there. He was right on the very edge of Evelyn's stealth detection range the whole time he was going around Froggen and was able to get damage down on him kind of through the duration of Froggen's Valkyrie away. And that's very important for that mid lane matchup between Gangplank and Corki, because Corki is a bully early on in the lane, especially against Gangplank, who can't really match the harass. That gank goes a long way in equalizing that lane.
Really big deal here. So yeah, suddenly the CS is equal in that mid lane, and GBM's got to feel happy about this one. Bot lane and top lane being pushed kind of in equal parts here as the tri lanes kind of move back to the other sides of the map, and these should be pretty equal turret trades. Hard says, you guys got enough damage. I'm going to go farm some more and take some Krugs away. And Echo Fox should have no problem knocking this turret down here. just as NRG are doing on the other side of the map.
Jungler's got to make sure they're getting the farm whenever they have the opportunity to, since the turrets are going to be traded anyways. So at the end of the day, it is going to be the minion differences that matter most. So far, it's been quite equal, though.
Yep. Altec will not share gold on that turret. 345 for impact. So even though they only have like 2 CS and 3 CS to the 44, gold is actually much closer for the top laners because they're getting so much more local gold. They've been gifted that in both of these turret takes. It's almost like 200 gold worth. You're seeing 1,700 to 2,100. Not that far apart, actually, on these two champions.
Their CS is support-like, but their gold is about 300 higher than the supports.
Yeah.
One thing we do have to point out, though, is Keith has gone for Cull in his second game in a row. He's actually done Doran's into Cull.
I think it's really smart in lane swap games. I really, really think that build is very great. So Keith will be quite powerful the second round in this lane swap here. Altec has a Coalfields Warhammer, which is the same amount of attack damage, but one's got a Cull now on top of it.
It's true. Is that?
25 for that and pickaxe.
Oh, yeah, of course. If we're counting the pickaxe.
Yeah. I mean, comparing those items, and Coalfields is more expensive, which is the money that Keith spent on Cole, and then it kind of trickles into this scenario. So Moon trying to clear a pink ward that is in the defensive Echo Fox jungle. And look at this, a ton of deep wards already put down by NRG in this bot side of the map. Putting down wards that match their uniforms, pink wards all over this jungle.
Well, finally, the teams haven't mirrored each other with this move. And NRG's actually looking to push the tempo pretty hard here with Impact being in the bottom lane. But they can't catch anyone transitioning through the jungle. So since they did take jungle camps, they're not going to lose out huge on this one, but it would have been kind of a failed play if they didn't take the jungle camps on the way.
Yeah. So bottom jungle completely cleared of monsters, and we'll see if the wards stay up for much longer here. But NRG still with a lot of power on the bot side. They shoved the wave in already, which means they have control over this dragon. They can see if a jungler shows up. They can see if the bot lane shows up. No one does. A pretty low opportunity cost dragon right here.
Yeah, even with Impact teleporting in the top lane. So now we may see the lanes turn a little bit more standard, but those side lanes become much more dangerous, and vision becomes even more of a priority, which I feel like favors the Evelynn and the Gangplank teams.
Yeah.
They have more unknown presence, so to speak, and it's very hard to cover this large of an area with proper pink ward coverage to stop what is soon to be a level 6 Evelynn.
This is going to be very scary. So Moon did go for Stalker's Blade here, so he has an extra slow to add to the kit since Evelynn doesn't really have one outside of the ultimate, and otherwise has rushed a Sightstone early on, so still being fairly supportive on this Evelynn build, making sure that he has the gank pressure from the smite, but also still the wards you expect out of your jungler.
Yeah, it's not exactly what you would expect to see from an Evelynn, but in the pro game, it looks like they're using Evelynn as that roaming ward bot, at least early, because until she gets Runic Echoes, she's not going to have much power in any types of dueling scenarios, especially against a Graves.
Yeah,
who has now gone multiple long swords.
Yep.
And those 2 long swords are less than the cost of the Sightstone, but give far more combat effect.
Absolutely true. KFO and Impact doing battle up in the top lane. This is a matchup that I feel like player skill being equal would favor Impact, but on top of that, Impact, of course, is a stellar player in his own right. So I think a difficult situation for KFO. Froggen jettisoning his way back into this mid lane here and saying, hey, GBM, by the way, I can hit you with bombs and stuff. You should be careful. Orange is seemingly doing exactly the opposite of what bombs would do, putting himself right back up where it was. Hard, slowly clearing away pink wards with a shotgun.
2 reloads, 2 full reloads required, or you have to use your quick draw to get a 3rd shot in one of the chambers. It's so painful for Graves to clear pink wards. It would have been really dangerous if Froggen hadn't pushed GBM out of lane before going to that side brush, since Eve was still kind of off the map.
He's going to be okay. Meanwhile, Echo Fox running through with this Raptor buff, and they know that no one's around here, but it's a pretty hefty push into this mid lane. And if they can knock down the barrels, they can't actually. Nice explosion there by GBM. Gets rid of many of these minions. Echo Fox will only get so much damage done here. They've got to walk away once again, but using Echo Fox, letting the bot lane stay alone, so Altec immediately pushes in, culls the wave, very smart by him.
Yeah, quite an expensive push when we consider there are 4 people there for about half the turret's health, and GBM still has ultimate to clear the next wave if they wanted to persist there. Gives Altec a nice amount of time to clear some minions bottom wave, and Fox is trying to make up for that. KFO does have ultimate to flash follow. Impact will be in a bit of trouble. He's got to clear some distance here.
Jumps in, takes a fair bit of damage in a hard, but really no more mana left on Impact. He's got nowhere to go. He could try to fight KFO, but again, without mana, that's not going to be a kill unless some teammates show up, and that will be a kill. Froggen snipes him with the rocket just to make sure he gets the money. First blood, Echo Fox.
Yeah, the kill actually handed to Froggen right there. He had roamed up. He wasn't necessary for the kill secure, but now he will be taking that gold mid lane. goes to show you the priorities of Fox right there. It's a kill secure. Froggen could have pushed up mid, created more overall map pressure, and given the gold to a Graves or a Malphite who still have pretty decent carry potential, but it has to be on Froggen right here. He now has the majority of the gold for Echo Fox.
Well, that's the thing, Jet, though, is like it seems like most of these Echo Fox games are Froggen focused. I look back to their week 1, day 1 game where they did nothing unless Lissandra, played by Froggen, went in and they followed up. Here on Corki, they've shown up to his lane multiple times, try to get a gank off, try to knock the turret down. Nice hit by Froggen. That would have been huge. Wow, outplays them both. Nicely played by Froggen, knocking the barrels. Yeah. And now Moon just walks sadly away. Gets level up from stealing some of the minions here, but
yeah, it's actually looking pretty strong for Echo Fox thus far. They've gotten around any sneaky Evelynn ganks early on. Of course, Evelynn doesn't have Runic Echoes or boots yet, so she's pretty slow walking around the map. Not exactly the best world for an Evelynn to live in. Also, you're not expecting much early pressure from a Gangplank mid lane, but maybe you would expect some turret dives with the Evelynn and the Maokai. Hasn't happened, and Fox has been the one pushing the tempo here. They actually have every lane pushed, and NRG almost forced to think about doing something. They do have Culling and Gangplank ultimate and Eve ultimate if they really need to clear this turret in a pinch.
And there's the GP ulti. Yep, there's the first one burned. But however, it's a cannon wave. There's the Culling as well. Big tanks it up, but still really too much damage dealt to the minions. No push available. Altek eats a cupcake. Happy Valentine's Day. I don't know if it was pink frosting or not, but actually, no, it's not.
No,
so
not
unfestive cupcakes.
No,
yeah,
it's actually a Yordle snap trap.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, no enhanced theme here.
That's too bad. Mash missed out. It's okay. Sorry, Keith missed out. Moving forward, though, Impact and KFO once again in a battle on the top side. Yet again, Hard is here to do some damage, and it forces not only a flash, but the start of a TP for GBM.
Yeah, cancel teleport, so it will be on a 200-second cooldown instead of a 300-second cooldown, so not as bad as you would think, but still pretty bad. Impact was pushed up beyond his ward line, which is kind of strange. There's a huge lack of wards by NRG right now, considering they're running 2 Sightstones and had a Sightstone rush invisible jungle.
Yeah.
It's actually Echo Fox who has the vastly superior vision control. It's what allowed Hard to go through there, and they have the camps themselves warded in the red jungle, so they would see Moon if he walked through there to clear any jungle camp. It's giving them a lot of freedom right here.
Yep. Speaking of freedom, GBM's not getting a lot in this mid lane here. He's constantly being attacked, pushed under the turret in his lane, and his barrel's often shot down before he can get last hits with them. So falling behind Froggen a little bit. Some of that being that Keith is taking Froggen CS in the mid lane here. The team really pushing together as much as they can. And this turret might go down on this wave if they can't defend it. You've got 4 members in this lane, and the Corki's not far away, so the entirety of Echo Fox are here to knock this turret down.
Yeah.
Altek taking some poke, but Big getting hit for that.
And NRG is going to have to be willing to force team fights. They cannot let Echo Fox set up in front of turrets, especially once Keith gets a few more levels, because then he can max his traps, put 5 traps down right in front of a turret, and make initiation very difficult for NRG. And NRG does have tools to do so.
Yeah.
You can flank around the backside. Impact, you'd want some home guard teleports. And that's kind of what this game is going to be coming down to, with triple marksman on Echo Fox setting up siege lines versus NRG trying to create the initiations. But currently, NRG isn't willing to go.
And there's also like no tools for NRG, right? Like Righteous Glory is not done. We're 6 minutes away from home guard. Conquan's level 4 on Braum from how much he's roamed. There are no engage tools right now. Okay, Moon 6 GBM ulti's back now, but those are some slows? That's not a great way to start a team fight right here. So Echo Fox pushing the siege as soon as they can. However, it does give away some dragon controls for NRG, getting their second uncontested.
Yeah, with all that being said, NRG just kind of meanders down and takes a dragon, and they actually don't even have to trade the mid-turret for it since Impact stayed up. You would expect that Echo Fox would have been able to trade that dragon time for a mid-lane turret, but instead they move Keith bottom lane to just accumulate some more farm. It does allow him to catch up with Altek, who was about 20 CS ahead of him earlier in the game, but it still gives away that second dragon, which will technically be stacking up.
Yep.
And it's pretty early for 2 dragons as well. 14 minutes, 40 seconds means 5 dragons could be a very real thing in this game.
Something to watch out for sure. GBM getting poked around by Froggen, who's wearing a blue buff. GBM just got his own not long ago. We track the gold leads because I think that's very important and a way to track who's doing very well in this game. It is only 800 up for Echo Fox, but keep in mind, that's counting all the free gold Gangplank gets for being Gangplank. So in terms of playing the map and getting farm, Echo Fox are winning by more than you would expect from the scoreboard.
Yeah. While I do agree that Gangplank's gold is an inflated number, it's not like Gangplank has poor gold conversion.
True.
Right? It's not like a champion.
It is still gold.
It's not like a champion who has 1,000 AP with bad AP ratios. No, Gangplank has really great ratios and just gets more money to buy the great items for him. So I think the gold description in this game is accurate. It's just the fact that,
That's fair.
Gangplank is really strong.
Yeah.
So he just gets more money.
Yeah, yeah. In terms of effort put in, Echo Fox is like, they've killed more
Way
of the
more
minions.
effort, but other teams
But it is close.
has Gangplank checkmark.
Checkmark,
So-
game is close.
That helps.
All right, I think we've solved that puzzle for now. NRG once again taking away these neutral objectives. They've gotten 2 dragons uncontested. Now it's time for Rift Herald. That should be an easy pickup as well. And honestly, NRG just, okay, they're not sieging, but they're playing the rest of the map just fine. And they've still kept this outer turret alive.
Yeah, the longer they keep this turret alive, the longer they can continue playing this game. And Echo Fox hasn't been able to set up any appropriate sieges. In fact, every time Echo Fox has moved for the siege, NRG has moved for a side objective.
Yeah.
Now, though, 3 traps in front of the turret. The turret is very low.
Yep.
Turret advantage.
There we go. Turret advantage comes through. 2,000 gold lead for Echo Fox as a result of the farm and the first blood and the turret. Hard will grab a nice smite there, take down the red buff, and Echo Fox doing a good job of actually running into the jungle at least a little bit here. Moon is the one wearing the Doom's Eve buff, so runs fast, does bonus damage, and buffs minions. Actually gives away that he's around via buffing the minions.
That is true.
Echo Fox can actually know that he's there.
Be like, somebody has
Righteous
this buff.
Glory popped. Wow, just for positioning.
Righteous Glory's up. Runic Echoes is up. NRG's trying to get this turret right back, but
Yeah,
there
but
goes
whoa! 4-man ulti from KFO, and look at the slaughter! 1 for 0, 2 for 0. How about more of a chase here? Trying to run away, they do bypass the cupcakes, but more burst comes out. Froggen, 1 more rocket, 3 kills picked up. KFO with the huge initiation.
Holy moly, freak. Fox looking like the team who has had their team together the whole LCS split right there. NRG lackadaisically walks up towards a turret, grouping up without any strong form of initiation. 1 Righteous Glory goes off, then a Gangplank ultimate goes off. It's not synced with any type of ultimate. And here comes KFO from the side, and everyone on Fox strikes as 1.
They just thought they could push them off the turret and hit it for free, but Malphite's right there. And they see him.
They see him. So they're 4-man Malphite ultimate in full view of the team. No one flashing back and nothing to stop him from flying in. The Gangplank does get off his barrels, but he's not strong enough yet to do one of those full team one-shots. And at this point, Fox can just easily walk up towards NRG and pick up the last kill.
And the last hit by Conquad, he knows he's going to go down. Jukes back and forth, hoping to dodge a rocket, but it's not going to be for anything. So a 3 for 0. Turret saved, and actually mid lane tier 2 did go down afterwards as a result. So Echo Fox really pushing very far ahead with this game. 4,000 up, and that's pretty solid.
Whoa.
Yeah, and Froggen continues to be really good at this game.
Yep.
Jumps away from the second activation of Righteous Glory on Maokai. He's fine.
Yeah, had his package up, so was free to play very aggressively. Multiple Super Valks away.
Keith was part of that fight, kind of.
We can see, obviously, Froggen, whenever you have a Malphite set up like that, the AoE damage from Corki is immense. Just yesterday, Cloud9 had the same Malphite-Corki combo, and guess what? In the mid lane, they did both of the things, and they killed the team in a mid-game team fight. That's the mid-game power spike you want to be able to capitalize on in this game, and it's what NRG actually walked straight into. We haven't seen Moon using his stealth on Evelynn to any sort of advantage. Not as, like one gank early on to make sure Froggen didn't completely destroy GBM in the mid lane. That's about it.
Well, we heard Moon talk about the Korean style of jungling from his time practicing over there. These junglers rush a Sightstone before their jungle item. They're all about supporting the lanes and getting the vision up, but he got the wards up, but didn't really support the lane in any meaningful way. No one got kills off.
Here we go, though. Impact has teleport, and Moon is technically in flank position while Fox is pushing. If there was a time to engage on 3 marksmen,
And it's right now.
It's now.
The TV's coming in, Gangplank in the bottom right. The team is very split, which means KFO has no easy ulti. There's the catch-up by Impact, and Big goes down before doing anything. Glacial Fissure also buying a lot of time. But another ulti! He catches 2 more! That's a whole bunch of kills for Echo Fox. They knocked down everybody but GBM. A double kill for KFO. And once again, the engage is on point.
That was the time for NRG to try and make the engage, but Fox just plays better. They have the mid-game power spikes. They had the Aegis completed onto the Janna. They had the Trinity Force power spike on their Corki in the mid lane, and KFO landed yet another massive unstoppable force despite their own team getting flanked on.
Yeah. Massive stuff here. Echo Fox got to feel real good about that fight. 6,000 gold up, and we can watch that yet again.
Yeah, so the Gangplank ultimate is terribly placed in this fight, which is not the type of Gangplank ultimate you expect from the best Gangplank in the world there. KFO with another massive ultimate, comboed with Froggen, and GBM bad ultimate. Impact hasn't looked very good this game. We talk about how NRG needs those two to carry for them to win the game. Well, both those guys are actually having bad games right now, and it's really showing that NRG doesn't have anything left after that.
Yeah, no, they're really far behind now with damage dealers that don't have any really major items right now. You're seeing Keith already get a full 2 items off this Caitlyn. That's going to feel really good. The smattering of things after S3 for Altsec, like, the damage really is not there. GBM still doing his best to farm.
Yeah,
and, you know, maybe on IE.
You can make the argument of GBM being the best Gangplank in the world after so far this game. It's one game.
Sure.
That's some pretty bad ultimate placements
Completely agree.
so far in this game. And the ultimate is also a team effort. This team just is not gelling whatsoever this game on NRG. You can put the Gangplank ultimate down, but that has to be right when Evelyn goes in as well, because you hit the Evelyn first on top of Gangplank ultimate, hit them down, or a Maokai needs to center someone down, root them for a few seconds on top of that, and then you get the barrels from there. But everything is out of sync.
Yep.
Whereas Echo Fox, who has had the misfortune of playing with substitutes pretty much the whole year, is looking really sharp.
Absolutely. This is really good. Echo Fox certainly have sharpened their teeth in this one, and are ready to keep moving forward. Froggen wearing double buffs, looking for the top lane, but a quick cull by Altsec gets rid of the minions, so nothing to do here. Altsec yet again, really, really high minion numbers, 198. He's getting farm really well, but like, this isn't even Altsec's fault, to be fair, right? This is like his team dies so fast. How do you put up persistent damage in AD carry? But
I think this is actually a pretty good call so far by NRG, though. GBM pushing bottom lane, has his teleport in case things go really badly, clears with his ultimate, and there is no one to respond to him. KFO was there for the initiation. This is going to be a 1-for-0 turret trade in the favor of NRG.
Very nice defense, good job, and of course now it's looking like Gangplank's going to stay down here. No one is recalled from Echo Fox that I can see. They're staying top lane. They're going to give some inhibitor turret damage for this.
KFO is currently recalling, but he's pretty slow on that move. It is on top of a pink ward, though, and he has been in the fog for quite some time, so GBM has to back off, and NRG did not want to get flank initiated since they had lost control in their own jungle. Now maybe they try for another one, but this would be an engage without a Gangplank ultimate.
This is a chance of a 4v5, though. Malphite would have to TP to get in, and instead the inhib turret goes down before NRG even stops them. Conco gets chunked before anything even happens, and now it's, well, you don't have anyone energy left.
You have such a small amount of time to act when you have a Caitlyn, Corki, and Graves all battering down your turret, even with the Janna shield to empower it right there. And I can see why NRG would be trepid about that initiation, because they have gone so poorly thus far. And Malphite still could teleport in for a follow-up initiation, and NRG hasn't been able to lock anyone down cleanly. Moon's still trying for a flank, though, and it's tricky because he knows there are pink wards in the deep jungle of Echo Fox, so if he actually wanted to get a good flank, he would be spotted out and focused right away.
Well, a couple recalls for Echo Fox. Hard actually by himself right here, so you know, a couple people kind of slinking along by themselves. Good smite, gets it, no problem. Moon, I believe, got partially spotted while doing this. Now, of course, mid lane inhibitor already dead. Top lane inhibitor has no turret left, so Echo Fox have some easy targets for their next round of pushing. Dragon is currently down. Echo Fox did get the last one after their previous team fight victory, so they've got those stats. It's got to feel good for them. GBM playing the farm as best he can, has another upgrade available for his ultimate. That's what that nice, glorious coin sound was. Best to carry.
Something we have to keep in mind with this game is NRG still has Gangplank.
And
that champion is bonkers in the late game. Even if there's a huge goal discrepancy, if he can land a barrel combo on anyone.
Multiple squishies of this team.
And if he manages to land one on 3 or 4, the fight could be over right there if he gets a few more items in.
40% crit chance, could do almost 1,000 damage before resistances. It could be real scary. Echo Fox have to respect the threats of NRG because they are real. One bad team fight turns this all around that NRG can take over the map.
It would have to be a very good barrel chain, though, because one luxury that Echo Fox has, especially with a rapid fire cannon Caitlyn, they have a lot of people to actually kill the barrels. That GBM will be trying to shoot. And a real flank being attempted here, trying super hard, but the ward coverage in Fox's jungle is just so good.
Really nice by them. Tracker's Knife on hard and a Sight Stone from Big. And they're going to be just fine. Package does not get used to any meaningful gain, just walks him away, but Froggen at half health will want to recall. Mid inhibitor did respawn, and NRG managed to weather that storm. They remain only about 6,000 gold down. This is, you know, a comebackable gold lead, or deficit if you take the position of NRG here. And the farm is actually being completely sacrificed from Impact and given to both GBM and Altec. Both these guys are about 240 right now. Impact hasn't gotten minions in a while.
Yeah.
Only 102 CS at 25 minutes.
He is really, really low income in this game.
Yeah.
He's been either trying to teleport in on the backside and losing the fight so he doesn't get any gold that way. And then the late game insurance for this NRG team is, well, we need damage dealers. So it's Altec and GBM who get all the farm. All the side lane farm is going to the Gangplank. And when you consider the fact that Moon played the early game with the Sightstone as well, it's really only two major contributors to any of these team fights. But on the other side, like, no matter what happens with the gold, it's going to be tough because Hard has been able to fast farm the jungle. KFO has actually been getting his fair share of side lane farm as well as some big team fight contributions. So we're talking 4 threats against 2 threats.
Yeah.
And since Malphite is so tanky, it's not even that big of a difference in tank line, which puts NRG at a really big disadvantage.
And keep in mind also, Echo Fox are about to have 3 rapid fire cannons in terms of hitting these turrets down for a while. The Graves has finished his. Keith on Caitlyn's had his for a while, and Froggen's getting that next year on this Corki. Dragon number 2 picked up pretty cleanly, 26 minutes in, so the threat of Dragon 5 for NRG is long gone here as Echo Fox have maintained map control.
Yep.
I don't expect the game to take that much longer anyway. If it does go Echo Fox's way, they would win in the sort of near term. NRG would require multiple fights to come back, but of course anything is possible.
Yeah, the later the game goes, the fewer fights you would need to actually turn the game.
Very
so
true.
it's important that Echo Fox do something kind of quickly because they have 2 exposed inhibitors. They've recalled the buy on multiple occasions here.
Setting up a Baron bait.
This would be the time they'd want to fight.
Right,
and
Glory popped, and yes!
Nice
He catches Hard with the flash, there's a shutdown! A great kill, and that is the jungler, which means there is no spike fight available. NRG go for another Baron bait, but they keep...
No flash or Righteous Glory on Impact this time, so it'd actually have to be Moon that would be behind them here, and that's not the path he has taken. He's not setting up for a full team fight. And even 5v4, it looks like Fox is playing fairly confidently.
They save the ultis that aren't named the culling, so tools are there. Moon chunked to 600 health, though. He wanted to go in, but got spotted out by Keith, and Keith fearless! Oh, no! He wants to kill Moon! Oh, he flashed the way. No, Impact knocked up by Big, slowed down by the Malphite, down to half HP. He's going to be left alone as a sacrificial tree, chopped down for Timber, and Echo Fox get one right back in a 4v5. What happened?
It was so good until it was so bad for NRG because they had a Baron bait while down 6,000 to 7,000 gold, and then they just one by one walk in front of a turret and Caitlyn with no threat to initiate. So of course Keith is going to return fire. Moon nearly dies, Impact actually dies, and now the catch has turned into an open inhibitor and a 5v4 for Echo Fox.
And the chance for Barrel Chain is gone yet again. They keep getting knocked down right on time. There we go, that one goes through, but hits nobody, so who even cares? 4 barrels used for nothing by GBM. Mid inhibitor goes down in the now 5v4 in the favor of Echo Fox, and they can walk to bot lane tier 2. I don't see this being contested in any meaningful way.
Yeah, they actually decide to not go for the next open inhibitor because they don't actually have very good pink ward coverage within the jungle of NRG, and the one way NRG comes back is with a well-positioned flank and flank teleport.
Ooh.
Or with the barrels,
Yep.
just like that. But this is a safer turret, so to speak, to take than it would be an open inhibitor in the base, just because of the danger of getting flanked by Evelynn and Maokai.
Absolutely, but props to GBM, a great barrel chain right there, saves the day for now. You're seeing more critical strands being tacked on by GBM. Essence Reaver gets bought from just a longsword and a cloak of agility, so now max CDR now on this Gangplank. That build is 40%, 60% crit chance, heavily high attack damage. GBM is in full Gangplank power mode right now. It is scary to face this champion.
Time to redeem himself if he's able to pull this one back on Gangplank with pretty much the odds completely stacked against him. It's him and Altec, the only 2 people with gold on NRG.
Yeah.
But because of all the extra gold he's been able to farm with Parlay, he is actually 25 gold shy of Froggen. So he's even with Froggen, despite the 4 kills that Froggen has accumulated. Plundered 1,495 gold on Gangplank to this point. So that will only go up. Oh, now it's 1,543.
Yep.
Because
You
at
got
this
the parlay.
point, plunders the whole wave at a time.
There's last ulti upgrade now, so Raise morale is going to be in, keep the team running forward, and that's nice to have, right? When Maokai jumps in, now you can all run, you know, alongside and maybe catch up to people. Cooldown boots picked up. Oh, sorry, on Lucian, I got myself turned around for a second. Yeah, maybe normal builds here.
So he'll be hitting very high, about 40% CDR, close to on Altec.
Yep, 40% CDR on Altec as well, 40% CDR on this Gangplank. The pieces of items still coming through for Impact, Glacial Shroud plus a Spectre's Cowl. But here comes the top lane push right here. 6,000 gold remains the lead here for Echo Fox.
This fight is heavily about whether or not GBM can get the right barrel chain and a good ultimate placement because it is so powerful.
Shield on the
Currently in
key.
base, though.
Kilden goes through and knocks down most of this minion wave. They still got to watch out for the flanks. Here's the teleport in from Home Guard Maokai. Moon gets a slow down, but there's no team. There's the GP ulti. There's a knockout by Quanquan. This is the fight they have to win. But in goes KFO, stuns the backline. Quanquan goes down. Impact goes next. They can just kill the tanks first. And now who's going to stand up for energy anymore? Because Fox push into the base. The inhibitor is dead, and there's no more frontline left.
Yeah, no one can get immediately bursted down by energy. Moon does not sync with Impact on that, and the Braum ultimate is not enough to hold people into GBM's ultimate. You could tell they had an idea of what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
But so did Echo Fox, so they were able to avoid it. Everyone could dash out of the Gangplank ultimate, and not everyone could be locked down. They clean the second inhibitor, they get 2 kills, and now they turn for Baron.
And this should be a clean Baron right here. No flash is up for Moon. Even Froggen staying on the back lines to help zone people out and do some damage. Toss out the skill shots, walks around. That's the Baron picked up. Nice smite by Hard, and Echo Fox are in pole position to knock down energy and catch the same number of wins as TIP and Dignitas.
Yeah, as the teleport is channeling is actually when Moon burns his Evelynn ultimate. So you do want the Evelynn ultimate to be the first thing in a fight, but not that much of a first thing. The barrel chain only hits the support from GBM on the backside of that fight, and KFO was also a huge distraction because he landed his ultimate onto both the main carries, which is the most important thing to do on the Gangplank, and another beautiful ult from KFO's Malphite.
KFO honestly has been impressing me a whole lot this game. Every single ult looks pretty much perfect. Either ult tech flashes away or he gets hit by, he's catching the carries. He's even exercising restraint in he'll wait in the middle of a fight until it's time for a good one.
Yeah, I mean,
he will hold that cooldown until it's the right people.
We compare that to his first week in the LCS where he didn't get a single kill, died 4 times. Like, he's looking like a totally different player.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I got to talk to Echo Fox a little bit about their roster choices. And, you know, I asked once, like, you know, why'd you go for Big, this rookie support? And they said, no, we picked him because he's got room to grow. His attitude's great. Echo Fox picked for the long con. They picked for players that they knew would grow, and they're going into a win right now against Energy.
Yeah, this is looking to be the final push. There's still 2 turrets up, but against 3 marksmen, it can't last very long. Energy would have to do a desperation initiation, which Fox is ready for, and this could be the final fight.
Yeah, ulti's come across to kill a couple of minions here, but it doesn't really matter for Echo Fox to have fell all 3 inhibitors. The marksmen are all ready to do some damage. KFO has the ulti. He's there to disrupt. 1 turret remains in the base. That one's gone now. Into the Nexus they go. The final fight. Impact locks up with a camp, but Keith stays alive thanks to Janna. A big barrel chain comes down. It finds nothing. 2 kills picked up as GBM's gone. Conquan's the 3rd, Moon's the 4th. They've got everybody they care about. That's the Nexus. That's the win for Echo Fox.
And Freak, we were talking before the game about how this Echo Fox team was 2-1 coming into this, but it was very easy to discredit because they'd come against sub-squads or teams that hadn't quite been together for very long. But this is a legitimately impressive win.
This is absolutely incredible. At the beginning of the week, Energy is tied for 2nd place. Echo Fox says, that's cute, we'll knock you down a couple of pegs here after CLG beats them yesterday, and Echo Fox are now looking like one of these teams to threaten the top half of the standings. They get Liquid next week. That's another team they can knock down in this sort of 4, 5, 6 position to cement themselves as clearly a playoff caliber team in Echo Fox.
Yeah, I mean, we've been through this before with TDK. A team comes in after missing a whole bunch and had a bunch of losses. They win a few, and we're like, they're the best. They're going to win everything. But honestly, we don't know. We have to wait to see more gameplay because this game in particular, while there were numerous missteps on Energy's side, you can't detract from Echo Fox for that because they still punished and played quite clean on the mistakes and windows that Energy left for them.
Absolutely true. This was just a great game. Taking it a little bit slow at times, the early game sieges, they allowed Energy to defend it, no big risks taken, but when it came down to the team fights, KFO never missed a beat, and the team never missed an opportunity to follow up. And this is a player coming over from Korea with very limited English skills, and this team still looks on the same page. Especially when you contrast to Energy, who were in the same boat, and yet Echo Fox looks so much sharper with the same difficulties to work through, and they've just done it better.
Yeah, and this was another game. You know, we talked about how GBM and Impact have been the ones trying to carry this game. And like we know Impact had a really bad game, but Altec did even less damage than the Maokai, 2 champions in this game. 3,772 damage on Lucian compared to 25,000 from Froggen on the other side. Or if you're looking at Keith, 13,000. So NRG, probably their worst week they've ever had in the LCS.
Yeah.
This is their first 0-2 week. They lost a close game to CLG, but now they have dropped to a team that is currently not slated to be in the playoffs and just got their roster together. So they will have a lot of worrying to do over the week and a lot of improvements.
Absolutely. 2 things here, right? As you mentioned, alarming for NRG, really positive for Echo Fox. If they can keep the momentum going, they are a team to watch.
Yeah, they're 2-0 this week.
Right. Yeah. That's solid, right?
Froggen and KFO are 3-1 in the LCS.
Yes, they are. It's really good stuff. So positive stuff here for Echo Fox. But for now, we're going to catch up with an interview on stage with their jungler.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Hard of Echo Fox after their Valentine's Day victory over NRG. A fantastic match played. And Hard, I have to say, does it feel really good to be able to show people how hard the team has been working to get these wins, and now you're finally getting them?
Yeah, it definitely feels great. Like, we haven't been able to play with our full roster for a while, and coming in and 2-0 this week is like, feels great, yeah.
And how have you guys kind of kept the synergy? It's been quite a while since you've seen the stage together. Have the scrims been going well? Have you just kind of been sticking with it?
Well, we've been scrimming with our main roster the entire time, so we never scrimmed with our subs, even though some games were really close and they played really well. And so the synergy was like, it was still there, but I guess the stage, like coming back, I think it was a bit weird the first day yesterday, but we managed to win and felt good again. So I think we're back on track, yeah.
It's working perfect. Keep tuning the main engine. You guys are winning the races, and hopefully it keeps going that way. I want to look at you for a second as a jungler coming out and out of the LCS. How do you kind of define yourself as a jungler? Are you team-oriented? Are you aggressive? Do you want the kills? How does it go for you?
I think I'm mostly team-oriented. I think I would, like, maybe more than most junglers. Yeah, I definitely say team-oriented. I don't really go for kills. I don't try to carry. I just try to make sure my lanes are ahead.
Well, you got some fantastic laners to get ahead. Final question to you. You're looking at Liquid and Impulse next week. How's the team feeling? You guys are looking great.
I mean, after this week, I'd say it's like a huge confidence boost. I think we can 2-0 next week. We definitely have to. Like at this point, we really want to get into playoffs. I think we can do well. And yeah, I think we'll do fine next week.
All right, well, the confidence is there. Hopefully the play continues to follow for Echo Fox. Congratulations on the win. Right now, we're going to throw it to the analyst desk to break down the rest of that game.
Thank you very much, Riv. Echo Fox got to be feeling good. 2-0 week for them with their full roster back on the field.
Froggen's back in. Boom.
Exactly. Right. We talk about the high effect all the time. You got Froggen back in the lineup, and boom, 3-1 with their full roster. So again, have to feel good, but you know, struggle city for NRG on the other side of the map, but I think a large part of that was the comp that was drafted by Fox. It was just so oppressive.
It was super good. I absolutely love this composition because they draft the Corki first, they flex pick it, they get a Graves and a Janna. So you don't know if that's going to be mid Corki, that's going to be a Corki AD carry, but you know it's double AD with some type of disengage. And then the answer from NRG is Evelyn Lucian. So you pick a low range AD carry, it has a little bit of wave clear, but then you pick this jungler that's never gonna have enough damage to kill or threat an AD carry, and never enough defense to actually survive an AD carry. And then the final 2 picks, Caitlyn. Way longer range than Lucian. It actually synergizes really well in a siege situation. You set up a line of traps. If one person steps on a trap, you throw the Graves smoke screen into that area, so they have to file through it. They're blind or they eat traps and they eat more damage. And then the final pick was Malphite, because when you have AD carry compositions...
Because it was up.
You also...
That's part of the problem.
but also, yeah, it's part of the problem because you want to draft that against this composition, but usually multiple AD carry compositions suffer from a lack of engage.
Yeah, exactly.
So they have that disengage, they have the engage, so they have all of this kind of versatility to this comp that I actually really love.
Yeah, sometimes you run into that problem where you've got so much damage on your team with these triple AD carries, and you just need someone to hold the enemy down for 1 second so you can put that damage out and you can actually tag them. But yeah, I really did like Fox's comp, but also on the other side, NRG, completely the opposite here. It felt like they were letting people just go with the comfort picks. You know, Gank by Mom's Gangplank is legendary. You're like, you know what? We're giving that to him. Moon, play whatever you want. One of your big champions is Evelyn. You're going to feel at home on this champion. However, Evelyn with a sight zone I'm very, very much against that. I just feel like it takes away all of her strengths. The reason that you pick Evelynn is for that threat, for the threat of assassinating one of these AD carries. There's 3 targets on the field that you can threaten at all times, and they have to always be, oh, where's Evelynn? You know, dropping pink wards. There's no threat if the Evelynn has a sightstone. She can't even 1v1 one of these AD carries, even if she flanks up on them. So that kind of detracts a lot of the threat that you have. And then while they were trying to save, you know, Gangplank, flex pick, oh, that's always great to have a flex. Maokai is a substandard Malphite, basically, for this. Malphite is great against triple AD. That's your hard engage. It's exactly what you want. You know, even if they do have the Janna, Malphite is a really good tool against this comp. But they try and counterpick the top lane. Malphite doesn't care about getting counterpicked by Maokai. He's like, all right, great, we got
I think what I would have liked to have seen them done was pull something out, like a Fiora against them out. You're right. Give yourself, although it isn't necessarily this big frontline tank, it's not going to be able to start the fight for you, which I have a feeling is why they drafted the Maokai. It could start a fight. It could root an ADC down, so you actually get to focus. But again, they didn't have the damage follow-up. You have a Sightstone Eve that's going to dive into the backline with a Maokai that's not doing enough damage. I would have liked to have seen a Fiora maybe set up the split push and relieve some pressure once they started losing the map a little bit.
Yeah, and then you have the Gangplank in the top lane, and we saw Impact in the mid lane for GBM, and then that's your only really big source of wave clear. So you're relying on those barrels, and we saw how they were cleared out so easily by all of the AD carries that it was really frustrating. I would be really frustrated if I was GBM in that game.
Props to, you know, the AD carries on Echo Fox for quickly doing that. You know,
all 3 of them.
Yeah, exactly. Because they're like, somebody's going to pick up the slap. Everybody aim for it. They're going to shoot it. But, you know, you don't want to sit on champion select too long because there's a lot of hypotheses that can float around. Really, it did come back to play in the end. While they had, you know, were sort of at a disadvantage due to, you know, what they were set up with, you have a good replay.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's take a look at KFO. KFO coming up big with an ult in the mid lane, 17 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's going to net 3 for 0 for Fox.
This one, they have vision of Malphite on the side. All members group up here, and it's a maximum range Malphite ultimate. So normally, like normal players like me or you or random League of Legends plebs, you can get hit by a Malphite ult like that. Professional players on LAN with the ping to do so and flashes up need to dodge that. There is no excuse. You flash that, you dash that.
All 5 flashes are up on the side of energy. And 3 of them used their flash later in the fight.
That is inexcusable.
Yeah, none of them flashed Malphite ult. They then used their flashes to try and get away, but they die in doing so.
Did a reaction time piece way earlier in the season. Turtle actually flashed a Malphite ultimate that was half the distance coming from Fog of War, and he had time to do it.
He's a god. Right. Anyway, when I look at that replay again, I noticed that GBM is the one standing back as a Gangplank. He's not getting greedy for turret damage or anything like that. He's just sitting there going, you know, Malphite's going to ulti. He's the only person not in there. And he played this. He actually played this game pretty well considering the circumstances. So GBM is still seems like one of the only really big performers on energy. Altec seems like he's disappearing.
It is tough to fault him. It didn't look like stellar GP play because more than half of his barrels were getting shot before he could execute them.
When everyone's hearing about GBM Gangplank, they're just on the edge of their seat, ready for this. You're like, finally, they give it to him.
He's gonna take
so
over
excited for this. You know, we're going to have triple barrel chains procking on the back line and killing all 380 carries at once or something. But, yeah, wasn't quite there. But KFO, I think, was one that really did step up for Fox. And not only did he have that play that we showed, but right after it, his next Malphite ultimate, again, won them another team fight. We finally found out what KFO stands for, because NRG after that were knock the FO.
There you go. Knock the F out.
Oh, my God.
No, but I actually like the fact that you bring KFO back up, because I think it's important. We talk all the time, you know, Froggen's the big star on this team. All eyes are on him, the veteran, the guy who's going to turn it around. But at the same time, he needs the rest of the guys to step up and support him, and that's exactly what KFO did this week. And this roster, now if we project forward, now 3-7, but 3-1 with their full roster, they actually could make a run at playoffs. And this is the way they needed to do it. Coming out strong here in week 5 with 4 weeks left in the season, they can make some moves.
Yeah, they definitely can. And KFO, you know, they're playing against a team, Energy, here in this game, where you would think there's some communication issues between KFO and the rest of the team and Energy and some of their members, but it definitely showed that Echo Fox, they look like they're synergized. They've been using this time to play with each other in the scrims, and they haven't devoted their time to their subs. They've been focused on just this roster, and being 3-1, at this point for them, you know, of course, they are 3-7 in the actual standings. I think that they can definitely go from facing Dignitas and Tip and showing us what they have and possibly being a playoff team at that point because they just showed us that they could take out NRG.
Yep. Well, at the end of the day, solid 2-0 week for Echo Fox. They had a sweet draft, full steam ahead for them, making a run towards playoffs. NRG, a small stumble, but don't go anywhere because when we return, perennial rivals CLG and TSM will take to the Rift. We'll be right back in just 3.5.
Shit, man. You know NA what sound this? Clap. What? Clap. Clap? Yeah, clap. Sure? This clap? Clap. Hurry.
Trying to get this turret right back, but
Yeah, but whoa! Four-man ulti from KFO, and look at the slaughter. 1 for 0, 2 for 0. But more burst comes out. Froggen, one more rocket. 3 kills picked up. KFO with the huge initiation. Keith fearless. Oh no! He wants to kill Moon. Oh, he flashed the way. No impact. Knocked up by Big. Slowed down by the Malphite. Down to half HP.
Oh, Lucian, keep playing. Lucian,
Hide back.
Lucian.
Nice.
That's the win.